The Battle of Midway, fought from the 4th to the 7th of June in 1942, was one of the most decisive naval battles of World War II. This pivotal conflict between the Imperial Japanese Navy and the United States Navy marked a turning point in the Pacific theater. It effectively halted Japanese expansion and set the stage for Allied victories in the Pacific. Midway, a small atoll in the Pacific Ocean, became the center of this fierce battle that reshaped the course of the war. Prelude to the battle. In early 1942, Japan sought to consolidate its dominance in the Pacific after its victory at Pearl Harbor. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack, aimed to lure the U.S. Pacific Fleet into a decisive battle by attacking Midway. The plan was to eliminate the American carrier forces, which had escaped the attack on Pearl Harbor, and secure Japan's control over the Pacific. Admiral Yamamoto's plan hinged on surprise, but American intelligence had cracked Japanese naval codes. By May of 1942, U.S. cryptanalysts had discovered Japan's intention to attack Midway. Armed with this knowledge, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, prepared an ambush. He concentrated his available forces, including the aircraft carriers USS Enterprise, USS Hornet, and USS Yorktown, near Midway. The Japanese attack on Midway. On the 4th of June, 1942, Japanese Admiral Chuichi Nagumo launched the first wave of air attacks on Midway. Over 100 bombers and fighters were deployed to strike American defenses on the atoll. Midway's airfields and installations were damaged, but the U.S. defenders managed to resist and launch counterattacks. American torpedo bombers from Midway's airbase attempted to strike the Japanese fleet, but their attacks were largely unsuccessful, and many were shot down. Despite the damage to Midway, the U.S. carriers remained undetected by the Japanese. Nagumo, believing the American carriers were not in the area, ordered a second wave of attacks to be prepared against Midway itself. This crucial decision delayed the arming of his aircraft for anti-ship operations, giving the U.S. carriers the time to launch their own strike. The American counterattack. At approximately 10:30 in the morning on the 4th of June, U.S. dive bombers from the carriers USS Enterprise and USS Yorktown spotted Nagumo's fleet. In a well-coordinated attack, American planes targeted the Japanese carriers Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu. Within minutes, the U.S. dive bombers inflicted devastating damage, causing explosions and fires that led to the destruction of the three carriers. The Japanese carrier Hiryu, the only remaining operational carrier in Nagumo's fleet, launched a counterstrike. Hiryu's planes severely damaged the USS Yorktown, but American forces continued their offensive. Later that afternoon, U.S. dive bombers from USS Enterprise located and attacked Hiryu, delivering fatal blows that set the carrier ablaze. By the end of the day, all four Japanese carriers had been sunk. The aftermath of the battle. The Battle of Midway concluded on the 7th of June, 1942. The United States Navy emerged victorious, having sunk four Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, along with a heavy cruiser. In contrast, the U.S. lost the carrier USS Yorktown and the destroyer USS Hammond. The battle was a devastating blow to the Imperial Japanese Navy, which lost over 300 aircraft and some of its most experienced pilots. The strategic consequences of the Battle of Midway were profound. Japan's naval power in the Pacific was significantly weakened, and it was forced onto the defensive for the remainder of the war. The victory also boosted American morale and solidified the U.S. Navy's dominance in the Pacific. Significance of the battle. The Battle of Midway is often regarded as one of the most significant naval battles in history. It demonstrated the importance of intelligence, as the United States' ability to decode Japanese communications allowed it to anticipate and counter Japan's attack. The battle also highlighted the critical role of aircraft carriers in modern naval warfare, as surface ships never directly engaged each other during the conflict. Instead, air power determined the outcome. For Japan, the loss at Midway was a major setback from which it never fully recovered. The destruction of four carriers, along with their air wings and experienced pilots, crippled Japan's ability to project power across the Pacific. Additionally, Japan's plan for expansion in the Pacific was thwarted, and the tide of war began to turn in favor of the Allies. For the United States, Midway marked the beginning of a strategic offensive that would continue with campaigns such as Guadalcanal and the island-hopping strategy. The victory also solidified Admiral Nimitz's reputation as a brilliant naval strategist and strengthened the resolve of the American public to continue the fight in the Pacific. Key figures in the battle. Several key figures played crucial roles in the outcome of the Battle of Midway. On the Japanese side, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto and Admiral Chuichi Nagumo were the principal commanders. Yamamoto's strategy of luring the U.S. fleet into battle was sound in theory but ultimately failed due to faulty assumptions about American capabilities and the element of surprise. Nagumo, who commanded the Japanese carrier strike force, made several critical decisions during the battle that contributed to Japan's defeat, including the delay in preparing his planes for anti-ship strikes. On the American side, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz played a vital role in orchestrating the defense of Midway. His decision to concentrate the U.S. carrier forces near Midway and his reliance on intelligence proved to be decisive. Rear Admiral Frank J. Fletcher, who commanded Task Force 17, and Rear Admiral Raymond A. Spruance, who led Task Force 16, were also instrumental in the American victory. The legacy of Midway. The Battle of Midway has left a lasting legacy in both military history and popular culture. It has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films, and is often studied in military academies as a classic example of naval warfare. The battle demonstrated the power of carrier-based aircraft and underscored the importance of intelligence and planning in modern warfare. For the United States Navy, Midway remains a symbol of resilience and determination. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the U.S. forces managed to achieve a stunning victory. This battle not only shifted the balance of power in the Pacific but also laid the foundation for the eventual Allied victory in World War II. The Battle of Midway was a turning point in World War II, reshaping the course of the war in the Pacific. From the 4th to the 7th of June, 1942, the United States Navy dealt a crippling blow to the Imperial Japanese Navy, sinking 4 of its carriers and halting its expansion. The battle demonstrated the power of air warfare and intelligence, as well as the courage and skill of the men who fought in the conflict. Midway stands as a testament to the importance of strategy, preparation, and determination in the face of overwhelming odds.